All right, so day 2, kind of like all the other ones, when you had the circles and when you had the parabolas where I gave you, instead of 2 days there, this one is going to give you some information and ask you to write the equation. That's what it's going to ask you to do today. So for this, one more time, you can have x squared over a squared plus y squared over b squared equals 1. Or you can have x squared over b squared plus y squared over a squared equals 1. The difference between the two, one more time, is whatever one's bigger, okay, if it's in the x location, it goes underneath the x. If the vertices are in the y location, it goes underneath the y's. Okay, so whichever one's bigger. So again, just so you know, when it talks about the vertices on this one, it's plus or minus a 0. But the vertices on this one over here would be 0 and then plus or minus a. Whichever number is bigger between the a and the b. The coverts, this would be 0 and plus or minus b, whereas this would be plus or minus b and 0. Okay, so just so that you guys know, again, the reason why the a was in the vertices in the first one, it's on the x position because it's underneath the x. The reason why it's in the y position over here on the right-hand side is because it's underneath the y. That's the only reason why. Then your foci depends on where your vertices were located at. This will be plus or minus c and then 0. And this one will be 0 and plus or minus c. The foci are always going to be in the same either x or y spot as whatever your a was. Okay? Do you remember the formula I gave you to find c? A squared minus b squared. Okay? Don't confuse that with the diagram here. Be careful with that. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some information and ask you to come up with one of those two formulas. It's not like you have to come up with both. These are two different things. They're two different ways. One of them is elongated east and west. The other one's elongated north and south. That's the difference. Okay, so they're going to give you enough pieces in order to figure out which way should it go. Okay? So, if they give you something like this, and I say that the vertex is at 4, 0, and the covert is at 0, 2. Okay? Now, when you have the vertex and the covertex, the easiest thing to do is it's giving you the a and the b just right there. So if you square them, what's 4 squared? 16, and what's 2 squared? 4. So those are the two bottom numbers. The key to it is make sure you put it underneath the right one. So with the vertex, is the vertex an x coordinate or a y coordinate? It's an x. So therefore x squared over 16 plus y squared over 4 equals 1. What do you think? Not too bad? Okay, if your vertex is at 0, 6, and your covert is at 3, 0. First thing I would do, I would square both numbers. What's the top one? 36. What's the bottom one? 9. Now, is the bigger number underneath the x or the y? Y question mark. It's in the y spot. Good. So x squared over 9 plus y squared over 36 equals 1. What do you think? Not too bad with those? Okay, now here's where it gets a little tricky, but not too bad. If I tell you the vertex is at 0, 4, but this time one of the foci or focus is at 0 and then 2 root 3. This is the one that's going to be a little bit harder for you. Okay? Because does it give you the covert? No. So that equation I asked you guys for just a little bit ago, where you told me that c squared equals a squared minus b squared, you're going to need that. Okay? So this is your a. Why is that your a? Because it's from the vertex. Right. And this is your c. Why is that your c? That's the focus. Right. So if I do that, I have 2 root 3 squared equals a squared, which is 4, minus b squared. That's what you don't know as you don't know b. So for some of these, you're going to have to solve for b first before we can actually start. So does anybody know what 2 root 3 squared is? When you square that, square the 2 first. So what's 2 squared? 4. Then you square the square root of 3 squared. What's the square root of 3 squared? 3. And what's 4 times 3? 12. If you're unsure, could you have put 2 root 3 squared in a calculator? If you put it in parentheses and put 2 root 3 and then square it, it will give you 12. Okay? What's 4 squared? 16 minus b squared. Now what? If I subtract 16, I get negative 4 equals negative b squared. But 2 negatives will make it a positive. Now here's something that you can do without doing it too much work. It's not asking you what is the covertice. So yes, it's going to be plus or minus 2, but then when you put it back in the formula, you're going to have to square it anyway. So what were you really trying to find is you were trying to find b squared. You don't need to actually square root that, because if you do, you're going to end up squaring it right back again anyway. Okay? By the way, what was 4 squared again? 16. And should that be underneath the x or the y? The y. So x squared over, and then y squared over 16 equals 1. What number goes underneath the x? 4. What do you think? So for that one, honestly, those ones that are like that, you're going to have to use this c squared equals a squared minus b squared in order to figure out the b squared. Okay? Now, if it says something like this, if it says an elliptical pool is 30 feet long and 20 feet wide, write an equation for the perimeter of the swimming pool, assuming the major axis is vertical. Meaning it's going to go up and down longer than it is going to go wider. Right? So which one's bigger, the 30 or the 20? Now here's what it's doing for you, just so that you know. When it says it's 30 feet long, that's 30 from here to here. So it's 15 each way. Good. Okay? And then when it says it's 20 feet wide, that's how much each way? 10. Nice. Okay? Now, I'm not squaring the 30 and I'm not squaring the 20. I'm squaring the what two numbers? 15 and 10. What's 15 squared? 225. And what's 10 squared? 100. So I have 225 and I have 100. Where should the 225 go underneath? The X's or the Y's? Why question mark? It's the bigger number. Plus it also told you that it's more vertical than it is horizontal, right? What do you think of that? Can you handle that? You have a couple questions like that, and where it's giving you words, but basically that's all it is. So what do you think? Not too bad? So again, on the worksheet it's 8 problems that you have to do.